Darling, you're looking gorgeous today. We're doing gourds. Hey folks, it's Mary, aka MercyTriumphs, and this is Slow Crochet. This is the third installment of the hashtag Autumn Garland Cal 2024. We are working our way through the month of October, doing some beautiful naturalistic crochet pieces to create a beautiful autumn-themed garland to bring a bit of the nature inside without the spiders and the gross and the bugs and the rot and all the kind of stuff. Okay, can you tell I have a little bit of experience with bringing the outside in and regretting it? Today I want to talk to you and share with you some gourd themed patterns, some things that we can use to put into our autumn themed garland. Now before I go too far, if you are new here, welcome. I'm so glad you're here. I'll be here every Saturday in the month of October 2024. There is a playlist link below. If you are making a garland with me, make sure that you email it to me by October 30th, and my email address is linked below. All the patterns are linked below. And for my Southern Hemisphere friends, there are a few spring-themed patterns also linked in the description below. Not that I'm going to go over them here, but maybe it's a preview for something in the future. Okay, so gourds. I want to give a big honorable mention. This is not going to go in the garland. It's too big. It's too cumbersome. It was not what I was hoping for, but I do want to honor this wonderful designer, and that is Crafting for Weeks. And I did the turban squash, or at least I attempted to. So here's my turban squash. Now the patterns, there's actually several patterns of some really beautiful, unique looking gourds. Maybe they're the winged gourds, maybe they're like the bumpy pumpkins. And so I made an attempt at a turban squash. You can see I went off pattern quite a bit. The size was getting so big, I didn't know what to do. And so in my attempt to wing it, it just kind of turned sour. I also attempted to do another one of her pumpkins, and that called for some half double crochets rather than single crochets, as is standard in your amigurumi type things. But I realized I was not going to have enough yarn. So I got started. You see how big it would have been. I'm not actually going to complete those, but if you're looking for some really interesting gourd patterns, some really unique ones that aren't just small for a garland, I would definitely recommend going over to Crafting for Weeks. Since we're on a theme of large gourds, let me go from largest to smallest. The largest that I have is this guy, followed by this little friend. Okay, so they're not enormous, but I do think after I've made this one, yeah, it is a little bit too big to hang on a garland. It is stuffed with polyfill, so it's not very heavy, but I think this size is going to be a lot more appropriate. These are from Winding Road Crochet, and I'm looking down at my notes here. I have the small gourd and the mini gourd. The only thing that I did differently in these patterns is I did everything in the back loops only, so that does give you a little bit more of a ridgy effect, but I thought that these two gourds were just lovely. I love a butternut squash. I love going to the grocery store and starting to see winter squashes come in, and not just the ones that are there decoratively, but the ones that are also quite delicious to eat. And so that's what these made me think of, and I wanted to make sure that I could honor those and that they are such an important part of the season to me. One of the beautiful things about autumn is not just the fall colors and the fall temperatures, but also the fall flavors. So I love that there's kind of a butternut squash gourd that could relate to this autumn garland, and I could honor it with these two pieces here. Now, honestly, it's probably going to be this one. This will be just a decoration. Maybe it will join some mushrooms from last week in some play food, or I'll put that with like the restaurant set for the children, something like that. But I did want to make sure that you could see both sizes together and see what a difference those sizes might make. As with the entirety of this crochet along, I am using Lion Brand mandala yarn, so things are quite a bit smaller. And speaking of smaller, the next size smaller gourd that I made are the Lion Brand Thanksgiving gourds. I made the bi-color squash, which is this one, and the pear gourd. And so I really loved these again for the shape of them. I thought they were really naturalistic. They had a really good sense of movement, a really good sense of color, and that real gentle kind of shape to it. I like how in the pear gourd you have a little bit of the green at top and down at the bottom, and I felt that they were very good sizes for a garland. I thought they would be really sweet, maybe clustered together or even apart, but they would be a good nod to the kinds of things that you start to see in the markets and on the farms here in this autumn season. So thank you, Lion Brand. There are some other gourds in that collection as well, but these were the two that I wanted to feature here today. Chrissy's Over the Mountain Crochet, she made tiny scented pumpkins. Now, these are not scented. I think she put some melting wax in her pumpkins, and I think she also uses a little bit of leather as the stem there. But these are wonderful little pumpkins that I think are just adorable. I love when I go out to the market and I could see all the different shades and colors of pumpkins. It's not just your standard orange anymore. There's all sorts of different colors. And this shape is just so classic to me. The stem, I just kind of winged since I didn't have a little piece of leather that I wanted to use. So it's just a couple of chains up and a couple of slip stitches back down. And this is one of those pumpkins that you use the yarn itself to create the ridges. You kind of go over and tighten them down. I hope that makes sense. If you've ever seen a tomato pincushion, it's the same idea there. But all of that is gone over in the tutorial. I think the pattern also uses Lion Brand mandala as well, which was one of the things that just made me happy when I came across her pattern. So happy, happy days with that one. Second to last is Sweet Bee Crochet, tiny, cute crochet pumpkin. And y'all, I love the little pumpkin vine attached to this one. This one works up as a rectangle, so all of the ridges are just in how the stitches are placed, and you do cinch straight down and back up to give the nice flat bottom there. But I loved how sweet this one turned out. I think making a bunch of these would be wonderful. If you just wanted to do one, this would be a great candidate for it. Do a bunch of these little pumpkins, have the vines in various lengths, maybe vary the stem a little bit, vary the colors. They work up super quickly, and I think they're such a great scale. And with that extra little vine on there, I thought it was just such a sweet addition. It reminds me of how many times we have accidentally grown pumpkins here at our house. We'll just have a pumpkin, maybe from the pumpkin patch, and leave it out for the squirrels to get into. And then come spring, something pops up, and over time, those pumpkins sure enough do grow, and it's such a great joy to kind of accidentally grow in the yard. So that's what that reminds me of. I love that this one is going to be part of my garland for sure. The last pumpkin is the tiniest, and this was actually from a pattern for earrings by Umbakwa Designs. I'm sorry if I'm mispronouncing that. It is linked below and as well as down here. But this little pumpkin for me turned out to be about 3/4 of an inch, maybe an inch. Very, very sweet. I can see how they would make sweet little earrings. No real separate stem. I think what I did is I took the leftover yarn after I'd sewn it all up, and I just pulled a loop through, and I did a couple of chain stitches to form a little bit of a stem there. So not even a separate color there, but again, if you want to keep things small and petite, this would be a wonderful candidate. These work up super, super, super quick, and there's hardly any stuffing needed in there if you need to stuff at all, depending on how tight your tension is. So that is my last little pumpkin. So I hope you've enjoyed this kind of parade of pumpkins and gourds. Thank you so much to everyone who is coming along with me on this crochet along. Do let me know in the comments if you have a favorite of these. And again, everything is linked in the description. All of the free patterns, all the tutorials, anything like that I mentioned is always down in the description. Thank you so much for coming back week after week. I am excited to see these garlands coming together, and it is hard to believe that we're almost on the last week already. Y'all, thank you so much for spending some time with me, and if for whatever reason I'm not your cup of tea, thanks so much for listening this long. I do appreciate you, and I do hope I'll see you again soon. Bye!